News Radio 700 WLW.
2020, the graduating class of the year 2020, survey done by Monster.com found that 45% of the class of 2020 are still looking for work. And this is coming up now on the graduates of the year 2021 who may find themselves in the same boat as their compadres from a year ago. So what's the problem? Why are nearly half of 2020 college grads still looking for work, some more than a year down the road from their graduation ceremony? Standing by, somebody who knows all about the workforce. In fact, whenever it comes to affairs of the workforce and what actually goes on there and then, we turn to a guy that I think knows it inside out, Joel Patterson. He is a workplace expert, heads up the Vested Group, a firm that is always on the best places to work. Joel, how are you on this glorious Friday?
I am doing well, Ken. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for hopefully lending some clarity to this. So we all know 2020, the pandemic, schools were not in session. Some of it was done by remote learning. But it would stand to reason that the kids that were graduating in 2020, whatever they looked for in terms of work was done virtually. There were no internships. Maybe there were virtual internships. I don't know. There was no way really for any of these graduates to connect with prospective employers, right? So this shouldn't be a surprising number.
No, I mean, the number's not overly surprising, but I would argue a little bit about whether or not you can find ways to connect with employers. I mean, if anything, what I think this is highlighted is that those that find creative ways to market themselves, to stand out from the crowd, they're going to get more attention. And, I'm not saying that these 45% are doing nothing and just sitting around watching TV. That's certainly not the case. But I think that it does require them to take a little more initiative, reach out, and like I said, find ways to stand out and make sure that they don't forget you. You leave a mark with them somehow. Okay.
Some examples then, because I'm sure that there are some from that class listening. I'm sure that there are some from the upcoming class listening. And I'm sure there's some parents listening. What kind of creative ways? How should you stand out?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a great example. So we hire college graduates all the time and definitely look for the ones that are going to fit our culture and show the necessary initiative and drive. And one of the things that we ask them to do is send us a video, a 2-minute video, with really no instruction other than to say, hey, why do you want to come work here and why would you be a good fit? And we get those videos all the time, and sometimes they're just, kind of reading from a script and no inflection, nothing unique about them. And we actually just hired a recruit just a couple of weeks ago. He started, and in his video, and I'd never seen anybody do this before, he actually started from off screen, walked in, did a flip over his sofa, and then started talking about why we should hire him with all kinds of energy. It was a little goofy, it was a little unique, but it obviously worked. And when you've got 10 different videos that you're comparing and contrasting, you're certainly going to remember the one that decided to take a little bit of a different tack and make sure that they did something that you could never possibly forget.
Yeah, that's kind of like the, years ago it would be like the first 2 lines of your cover letter better stand out or it's just going to get pitched, or if you did get in for a face-to-face, your elevator pitch, your first 30 seconds have to stand out. But those things sound like they've gone by the wayside.
Yeah, we don't get many cover letters these days. Most of it is just applying through the website, or if they know somebody that can vouch for them. That's why the video really makes a difference for us, in that it gives them an opportunity to be themselves, and that's really what we're. Our capital is people, and we want to get the right kind of person in here that will fit in and do the things that they need to do. And a lot of that is just showing initiative and being willing to do whatever it takes to get the job.
But a lot of it is culture, too, and how that prospective employee fits into the culture of the company and what its values are and what its mission is. I mean, those are huge things that companies have to address when they go through the hiring process. Well, the video sounds good, sounds like it would get attention. Then how do you get to that next level?
Well, that's where it starts getting tough in the days of COVID. It's really difficult to get that over video. I don't think anybody's solved that. It's the same issue that we have as we're trying to bring people back to the office. As we've gotten used to being remote, we're losing that kind of rapport building. We're losing those informal interactions that really drive a culture. I mean, we've got, defined core values and purpose and things that we hire and fire by, but you really can't get a feel for who somebody is until you get them in person. And I'm sure these college grads are running into the same issues. So I think as things open up, as the economy is improving, this will get easier. And I'd like to think that these 45% of grads that are struggling will be able to find some work. But I think that employers are going to have to continue to find ways to really connect with them. And most of the time that's going to be getting them in the office and seeing what they're really about in person.
Yeah. Joel, I'm just sitting here thinking about what you're saying. It's been decades since I was in college, and it's been a while since I've been on a college campus. But I think these colleges have to prepare students better now. I mean, the idea of going to college is, yes, I want to learn, yes, I want to grow, but the idea is, yeah, I want a decent job. That's why whomever is paying this tuition, and that's why I'm doing all this work. I think colleges have to start thinking differently about the way they prepare students for the job market. Would that be a fair assessment?
I think it's more than fair. It's really about communication in a lot of ways. And, and that survey that you were mentioning with Monster, and by the way, I thought Monster was gone as well.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these companies change all the time. Yeah. But one stat that really stood out to me is that they said that 70% of the Gen Z graduates think that they're overqualified for entry-level work. And to me, that is right out of the gate, you've got improper expectations set. I mean, you're going to have to earn your keep, and it almost feels like these colleges are telling kids that, hey, if you get this degree, you're going to be able to start at a mid-level or something. I mean, everybody's got to be able to do the grunt work for a little while to learn the business, understand how office, just politics and relationships work. And it seems like some of those folks are coming out of the schools with different expectations that aren't going to serve them very well once they do land that job.
Well, I suppose the schools have to say that because it's the only way they justify tuition. But over and above that, it's a disservice to the families. It's a disservice to the kid because the kid, as you say, does not have a realistic expectation. Now, back in the bad old days, when I got out of Ohio University, and I started out in this grand and wonderful business called broadcasting, I think my first job paid me $115 a week. Now, it was a different time, but it was still $115 a week. When I was coming out of school, my gosh, I thought I was going straight to ABC News or NBC News. Doesn't happen. And I think parents have to hold colleges and universities accountable. You're using our money. You're educating our kids. Our kids may be going into debt because of what you're teaching them. You need to give them a realistic outlook as to if you get this degree, you can expect this kind of work. Oh, and by the way, for the $125,000, $130,000, $160,000, $170,000 that I'm spending with you over the course of the next 4 years, you damn well better help my kid get a job. But I don't think parents are that proactive about it, and I know colleges aren't that good about doing it. So there's a serious disconnect here. How do we connect that particular chord?
I don't know. I don't know the answer there. I don't know that anybody does. But you're absolutely right. The problem is that we've created this level of college. If you want to go to a really high level college, whether it's Ivy League or anything else, the only people that can afford to do that these days are the wealthy, and that's not really helping us either. And then when they do spend all that money, you feel like you've got to get some level of return for it, and that's not a realistic expectation either. So I don't really know the answer to that. It's a serious problem that has to be addressed, but there's a lot of really good people out there that should go to college, could go to college, but just simply can't afford it. And certainly, if they do figure out a way to get through, they come out of there with so much debt that they feel like they need to make a certain level of money to be able to survive. And that's just creating a kind of perpetual problem as people roll out and contributing to the issues that we're seeing now. But the good thing is, as things are opening up, I mean, I know our business and a lot of other businesses that I talk to are really starting to see improvements. And hopefully those college recruits will start landing those jobs and we can get them busy.
Joel Patterson, our guest, he heads up the Vested Group. It's a great place to work, from what I understand, and he joins us here to talk about this survey. 45% of the class of 2020 still looking for work. The economy is coming back. The market, which I think is a leader, I don't think it's a trailer. Some people think it's a trailer. I think when you look at jobs, I think it's a leader. And it is all indications that this economy is coming back. The latest job job statistics and jobless statistics that came out yesterday would also lead you to believe that the economy is coming back, and hopefully jobs will follow that as well. For those that are employed, it's been a rough year, right, Joel? I mean, you've either had to work from home or work in different kind of an environment. Maybe you weren't in the office. Maybe your interaction with your boss wasn't all that great. But human beings being what they are and jobs being what they are, you want to raise every so often. You think that you've done good work and maybe in very difficult circumstances over the course of the last 12 months. Is this a good time to ask for a raise? And is there ever a bad time to ask for a raise?
There are definitely bad times. I see a lot of people will start asking for raises when it has nothing to do with their performance. So, as an example, if they made some poor life choices and can't make their rent, that's not a reason to go to your boss and ask for a raise. Or I also don't like when people just say, well, I've been here for X amount of years, I deserve it. It's not about that. But you should feel empowered to ask for what you believe you deserve, as long as it is justified and defensible. I think a couple things that people can really take into account is lead with data. Do the research, whether you go to Monster.com or Indeed.com, and understand what your role pays. But also have a good list of what you've done to impact the organization, how you've helped your fellow colleagues, where your goals are in the future and how that benefits the organization, and feel confident, not cocky, but be confident when you're having those conversations, and know your worth. Self-advocacy is really one of the biggest skills that people have to learn in their career, and it's never too soon to start that. But you also have to take timing into account. And, COVID has certainly impacted things, but as the economy has improved, I can tell you that there are a lot of people hiring, and there are a lot of people spending more money than they were pre-COVID, and you have flexibility around things like working from home or working from a different city altogether. So I would tell people that if you feel justified and you have the good data to support your request, then by all means, it is not a bad time to go out and ask for that raise.
No. And if you don't believe in yourself, why would anybody else believe in you? I mean, you have to, like you say, you have to have data. You just can't go in and ask for a raise because things are getting tight at home. You've got to prove your worth, but you got to sell yourself. Doesn't matter whether you're in sales or any other line of work. Joel, great stuff. Really, it is. You can find Joel at joelpatterson.com. Again, it's the Vested Group, a place we're told is always on the best places to work list. Joel, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ken. You do the same.